If you're struggling to figure out how to secure an equipment loan or lease of $100,000 to several million dollars for an equipment purchase, refinance, or leaseback in industries such as construction, manufacturing, trucking, agriculture, mining, forestry, or medical, then let me show you the exact process I use for any size of business or any type of financing or leasing scenario.
Hi, I'm Brent Finley, and I'm a business financing specialist that helps companies all across Canada locate and secure equipment loans and leases for their businesses. In my last corporate finance role over 20 years ago, I was responsible for a national restructuring of the company I work for, which is a fancy way of describing cutting costs and lowering headcount. And during the process, I decided to restructure myself out of the company. I had come to realize that while I'd gotten a great education learning about the financing complexities of large corporations, it wasn't much of a life working for these big companies, and that small to medium-sized companies had the same types of financing issues, but just on a smaller scale, and they didn't always have the same internal expertise available to them. So I decided to become an independent business financing specialist. And 20 years later, I've been able to help hundreds of Canadian businesses locate and secure millions of dollars of equipment loans and leases. After I went out on my own, I quickly realized that the way many business owners and managers think about business financing is totally backwards, which is why finding and securing the right equipment loan or lease can be hard to figure out at times. Let me explain what I mean. Marketing 101 tells us to figure out what the customer wants and then develop products and services to meet those wants, and then do a better job of delivering more value than anyone else to keep those customers doing business with you. The business financing industry takes a totally opposite approach. Financing companies develop lending products for certain types of equipment, customer profiles, and industries, but they work backwards from their money supply, not from the needs of the customer. Lenders expect you to fit into what they want, not the other way around. Consumer financing works the same way, but it's far easier for finance companies to develop lending programs for consumers, as qualifying is typically based on just a credit score and a paycheck, which most people have. Business financing, on the other hand, is much tougher because of all the variability that can exist from one business to the next, from one equipment loan or lease request to the next one. Sometimes there are too many choices to choose from, and it can be hard to figure out which is the best choice. Other times, it can be hard to find any equipment loan or lease options for a particular type of financing requirement. And whether an application for an equipment loan or lease is easy or difficult to get approved and funded, the same problem exists. I'll call this problem number one. How do you quickly figure out which lenders can provide you with the equipment financing or leasing you're looking for? When you're making what I call a standard financing request, there are typically going to be several loan or lease options to choose from. Based on my experience, standard requests occur approximately 80% of the time, and they're what most lending models are based on. Standard requests are for similar equipment, similar amounts, they're easy to assess, and have few requirements or conditions to get funded. About 20% of the time, an application for an equipment loan or lease is for a non-standard request, where one or more of the elements of the request cause the matchmaking process with a lender to be more difficult. A non-standard request will have one or more elements fall outside of the lender's credit box and typically results in undesirable approvals or automatic declines. A non-standard request can result from things like the asset type, age, and how you plan to use it, the business age, location, and industry, the terms of sale and lender background for a purchase, expansion, refinancing, consolidating, or restructuring events, financial and credit anomalies, and many other potential elements. If you're currently having trouble getting approved or funded for any type of equipment financing or leasing requirement, then you're likely dealing with a non-standard request. So for problem number one, you typically have too many financing options to choose from for standard requests and not enough for the non-standard requests. Let's move on to problem number two. Business owners and managers don't take control of the process and give all the power and control to lenders. A lender's goal is to cast a wide net, attract leads, screen candidates, and determine which deals they're interested in. It's definitely a volume game for them. They pick the applications that fit their lending model, and they end up approving and funding a small percentage of the deals they actually receive. Remember that they are selectively determining what applications interest them and who they want to deal with. So why can't you do the same? Why can't you be the one doing the filtering and screening? Most lenders say no way more than they say yes. And there can be lots of variability between what gets approved and funded today compared to what got approved and funded last year or will get approved and funded next month. Spending time working with lenders or brokers that can't help you locate and secure the type of financing you require is not only a waste of time, but it can also cause you considerable financial distress if the right type of equipment loan or lease isn't available when you need it. This is exactly what I'm going to show you how to do. Today, I'm going to lay out the exact process I use to locate and secure equipment loans and leases for any type and size of business. And if you follow even part of my process, you're likely going to get better and better results and save money over time. The good news is that the solution to both problem number 1 and problem number 2 is the same. And that is to take greater control of the financing process. Before I go any further and to avoid any confusion, I want to point out that I'm talking to you about locating and securing both equipment loans and equipment leases. And I'm going to collectively refer to all banks, credit unions, trust companies, insurance companies, equipment leasing companies, crown corporations, asset-based debt providers, and other forms of financing companies as lenders. Regardless of the source of financing, the process you need to follow is going to be the same for any type of equipment finance company or lender. Let's start with the goal or objective. Anytime you try to get an equipment loan or lease, your financing goal is always going to be the same. And simply put, it's to locate and secure the financing amount that meets your requirements for terms and conditions you're prepared to accept by a certain point in time. While the goal is always the same, the 3 components of it can vary from one financing request to the next. Let me explain. Every time you need equipment financing or leasing, the amount of funds and the application of those funds is likely going to be different. The terms you're prepared to accept may be different, and your timing to get financing in place can also be different. So the first step in any financing request is to clarify the goal before doing anything else. For example, it's usually not hard to get approved for the acquisition or refinancing of heavy equipment and machinery most of the time, as there are numerous financing options out there. But does the financing approval you receive from a lender meet your stated goal? Does it meet your requirements for terms and conditions you are prepared to accept by a certain point in time? This is exactly why equipment loan and lease requests of all types can be hard to figure out. My process is broken down into 5 steps. Step number 1, as I've already gone over, is to clarify your equipment loan or lease goal. Step 2, identify lenders that can help you achieve your goal. Step 3, create an application package that has at least an 80% probability of generating an approval you'll be seriously interested in. Step 4, manage the application process to generate approvals that you're going to be prepared to accept. Step 5, meet the conditions of funding to get funds in your hands by the time you need them. For step 1, you need to get specific about what you require, why you need it, and when it needs to be in place. The second step is to identify the most relevant lenders. If you skip over the step, you could easily get headed in the wrong direction, waste a bunch of time, and not likely find what you're looking for. The most relevant lenders at any point in time are going to vary from scenario to scenario based on several factors that I'm going to go over in detail. The third step is to create an application package that properly describes what you need financing for, provides up-to-date and accurate financial information, and tells the story of your business, including how it came to be, what it does, how it works, and how it got to this point in time. I'm going to go over several ways that financing requests, which should have been approved, got turned down strictly because of the information or lack of information in the application package. The fourth step is managing the application process to generate what you need in the least amount of time possible. This also involves reviewing the conditions of funding to make sure an approval is truly something you can take advantage of before you accept it. If you get this wrong, it can cancel out all the hard work done in the first 3 steps. And the fifth and final step is meeting the conditions of funding in order to get money in your hands or paid to vendors by a certain point in time. An approval isn't worth much if you can't meet all the conditions of funding in the time you have to work with. To get more information on each of the 5 steps and how to effectively apply them to your equipment financing process, you can request a free report I put together that goes over each step in detail. To access the report, go to the following link, which is also provided in the video description area directly below this video. If you want to discuss a specific equipment financing scenario you need help with, you can give me a call at 289-816-0075, send me a note through my contact form, or book a call through the link in the description to schedule a time when we can talk. Thanks for watching. I wish you all the best with your equipment financing and leasing endeavors. Take care.